It happened, guys. Trexel dropped a new trailer for Restitched, so oh boy, we have a lot to talk about. Or actually, not that much. I mean, the video is only 2 minutes and 45 seconds, so this shouldn't be too hard. Oh god, that was like 10 clips in 1 second. Alright, here we go. The trailer starts off with this cutscene with Stuffy, which is actually the very first cutscene we've ever seen from Trexel. Well, technically very impressive, especially from an indie company. There's not too much to talk about here, except 2 things we kinda already know. For one, this scene takes place in the attic. As you can see, one of the backgrounds of a playable level. And the other thing is, this is not only a nice cutscene to show off your trailer, it's actually gonna be the very first cutscene in the game. So I think it's very safe to assume that the first couple of story levels will take place in the attic. Next, let's try and dissect this part frame by frame. The most obvious part here is Stuffy's sick dance moves, because yes, you can emote in this game. But perhaps more interestingly, these represent the different worlds you can visit. The attic, the harbor, the farm, the beach, the mines, Egypt, the moon, and Neon, aka Japan. That's 8 worlds, which is honestly already more than I thought there would be. Maybe there's only 1 level per world? I hope not, but hey, it's possible. After the cutscene, we have some good old neon thread action, which is nothing new, except for this part. What the hell is this floaty fluid stuff he just entered? Well, we can actually find our answer by looking at the Steam store page. One of the images has this in-game note that says we can consider using the gravity fluid here instead. So, gravity fluid. Looking at the overall level layout here, I'm assuming that entering this fluid will make Stuffy go up. I wonder if thematically these are some kind of distortions created by the evil villain of this game, because after all, the story takes Stuffy through several worlds which they have to restitch. This next clip sees Stuffy using the bling bubbles. Yes, bling bubbles. These things are kinda like the portals. You jump in and you maintain velocity, which I bet will be pretty fun to use, especially when you like chain them together. Oh, I can't wait to see something like that. And while we're here, let's discuss these presents. I'm not sure if the devs have given details on these, but I'm gonna assume they're gonna include, you know, presents, stuff like clothes or cosmetics. It's very possible everything will be unlocked from the very beginning, but I don't know what else would be in these gifts. And then we have this minecart scene, which I actually have quite some thoughts on. Like, for example, why are the wheels not turning? I guess that's just something that still needs to be developed. But another thought, what happens if Stuffy didn't make this jump? You would die, and then what? How are you gonna make the jump in the future? Will the minecart respawn or something like that? And will any of this be practical with multiple players? So many questions, so little answers. And here we see Stuffy climbing over a pretty unique hazard. Honey! Which is one of the letalities confirmed by the developers. As far as I was aware, I thought this was supposed to slow down your movement, so I'm not sure what the trouble here is, but I guess you're still stuck with no way out. So yeah, there's that. After some more climbing, we notice 2 things. These spikes and this button. Spikes already have been talked about in the past by Trexel, and it seems like you have to place them in a 3x3 pattern, which can be tedious if you want to cover a large area. This button was revealed back in December 2023, so it's been a while already. Back then they didn't even work yet. I wonder if they work here, because I don't really see what this button would activate. But yeah, the developers have been very quiet about logic in general, only giving glimpses here and there, so I guess it's still a lot of work in progress. As a matter of fact, The devs have stated that logic is being tackled in 2025, and this is the first time we see these mines in action. We've seen some screenshots from them before, but this is really the first video from them actually exploding, I believe. And I'm gonna be honest here, I'm not sold yet on these mines. They seem like really easy to dodge, especially because they're on a timer and stuff like that. I don't see why you just can't walk past them every single time. I guess we have to see more creative uses of these, but yeah, right now, not really sold. They're also not really in theme, I find, except if you're like in a sci-fi level, like where it's shown here. One suggestion as a community member do one day, which I thought was really awesome, was bear traps. It's like, wow, that would be so in theme for this game, and these wouldn't be on a timer, these would go off instantly, which I think would be a lot more, you know, dangerous. Immediately after these mines, we see this platform rise from the ground with seemingly no trigger, which is actually kind of promising because it probably means there is some kind of hidden detector sensor thingy that rises this platform, which is really promising for logic because logic makes the game more interesting. Also, a thing to note is that I don't really see a way for Stuffy to cross this gap even with this platform. Maybe the clip was cut short and more platforms rise, or maybe he can swing from somewhere. Wait, actually looking at the Steam page reveals what it was. Yes, there is another platform. Still seems a bit far though. Next, some crawling action, and here we have a biggie. Probably the biggest reveal in this trailer, actual combat with enemies. The developers revealed this would be attained pretty early on, but this is actually the first time we see actual combat, and more importantly, enemies! These spider thingies sure are cute looking, but how dangerous are they? It's not really clear from the trailer clips how they damage you. I mean, clearly you can jump on them to do damage, as we see here in the beginning. And clearly we can slash them in a way that doesn't hurt us, even though they're pretty close to us. It's very possible their attacks or the way they do damage just hasn't been developed yet. Back over at the Trixel official Discord server, Halston, the creative director of Restitched, has given more thoughts on the trailer. He mentions that the enemies are still a heavy work in progress, which is why they've only gone as far as showing the spider for this trailer. They'll continue adjusting the amount of damage they need to die, how fast they strike, how far they get knocked back, their visuals, and how quickly they die and disappear. So this confirms they actually have an attack, because he mentions how fast they strike. So it's not just touching them that will damage you, they have a certain attack that you want to avoid. It's also cool they confirm that the spider is not the only enemy and that they'll have many more to show, which I am excited for. There'll probably also be critters of some kind, at least if we can believe their newly updated Restitched page back on their site. In this short clip, we can see a couple of things. First of all, we have this gravity fluid again, but more interestingly are these fans. Obviously, these allow you to reach higher places, but the thing I find intriguing is we already had an object that did that. Trampolines! And I guess the gravity fluid too, but it's not really similar. But these trampolines are similar, so I wonder, how do these fans differ? So I looked at them more closely and I think I got it. While trampolines you have to touch to go up, and every time you do, you go down again. With fans, it seems like they keep you in the air, and also you don't need to touch them for them to have any effect. There is also, of course, the visual difference, but I think we can move on. Another thing I want to point out here is this electricity, which is actually not a hazard. It's just the effect if you look at the creator side of things. See? Visual effects. But this disco floor down here is a hazard. As we've seen before, there are these types of hazards, and clearly this electricity floor is one of them. And now the exciting level editing part. Honestly, I could do an entire video on just discussing every object and every button. If you're interested in that, Let me know, I won't do that for now, I just want to highlight a couple of things. For one, I noticed how you can repaint these paint buckets, which I thought was interesting because it's not the entire bucket that's repainted, it's just a specific part, which is pretty neat. You also have these shortcuts down here, which change depending on the object you selected. With this, you can use the numbers on your keyboard to quickly do stuff like link objects, duplicate or mirror. I think it's really exciting that Restitched is built for PC because of things like these. It will be so much easier and smoother to create levels like this. And then we have this frame, which is probably the most interesting frame from the level editor segment. You can clearly see all types of objects and thingies and whatever that will enhance the level. And if you look closely, you also see this section, logic gadgets. Ooh, I wonder what these symbols mean. I also want to highlight these kinda amusing tree frames because it seems like unpausing the game for a second here caused the level to kinda break. I mean, for some reason these two objects in the back moved away from each other. I don't know why, I guess there's something not quite right yet with the physics engine, but yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. On to more interesting things, we have this part where we can see quite a few things. We have this heart, which I assume is a spawn point. We have these cameras, which determine the camera angle. We have this music icon for, of course, music. These sparkles for visual effect. And then last but definitely not least, this watery thing. There's definitely not gonna be any swimming, but I'm pretty sure this won't be just a material you can just stand on. Actually, we already have a work in progress sinking animation for sand, so I'm pretty sure it will be similar. As the building section continues, we mostly see things we've already seen before. We have this weird logic thing, which I have no idea what it would do, but an interesting thing to note is that this rise is clipping a bit into the ground. I wonder how that works physics wise. Like, I would expect it to start glitching or something like that. This beach scene shows a harbor sign, so I'm expecting the beach world to roll right into the harbor world, which makes sense. And then we have the exciting workshop space where we see other people's levels. I recommend you pause the screen and take a closer look if you want to know everything, but I'm gonna highlight a couple of cool thingies. This level says that deep beneath the harbor lies an abandoned mine tunnel. So from this we can deduce that the mine comes after the harbor. The level next to it mentions a name, Mama Bobbins, which, believe it or not, has already been written an entire story about back on the Restitched Patreon page. It's pretty long actually, so I'm not gonna go all over it, but I'll leave a link below so you can check it out yourself. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, this one mentioning Cleopatra, which is also one of the confirmed main characters in this game. It also seems like the theme around Egypt mostly revolves around a museum, which has also been talked a bit about on the Patreon. One more level description I want to mention is this one, which mentions force fluid. So maybe the gravity fluid thing wasn't correct after all. I guess it's still a work in progress name because it hasn't been mentioned anywhere yet, so yeah. And now over to this. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any hidden Easter eggs or secrets in here, even upon closer inspection, so I'll just let you pause and look through it yourself with a very slow video playing right now so you can make your own judgment. Alright, let's get back to it. I love how this part shows you can jump and grab a ledge at the same time. I mean, it makes sense, all things considered, but I thought it was gonna be like this, where you just jump up and then grab something. But no, you can also jump forward and grab something. So that has some exciting gameplay potential. In this scene, I especially like this bunny sushi stamp, so good job on that one, Trixel. And for this, I just want to say that it looks really tricky to navigate. Surely this must be one of the harder levels because, wow, you don't know where you end up if you enter the blank bubble, right? Unless you really pay attention. And also the platforms are really small, so yeah, let's take it down a notch, Trixel, okay? Now this one surprised me. Destroyable crates. I did not know this was gonna be a thing actually, so yeah, this was a fun reveal, and I love how, you know, the thingy on top also falls when you destroy the crate. I'm not even sure how this is attached, you know, if you look closer it's not really a bolt or something like that, so I'm curious how this works, but I'm sure it will be revealed sooner or later. Checking back on Helston's thoughts, he mentions how the crate breaking is using prototyped logic, and while it does have particle effects, they spawn too far away from the box and it couldn't be fixed in time. They also want to add destruction effects like shrinking, exploding, shader, visuals, etc. instead of it being instant. Wait, prototyped logic? Is that what this was? Ooh, that means you could make any object breakable. That sounds exciting. We're mostly seeing things repeated now because here is some more combat and here is a neat looking chess puzzle. We're nearing the end of the trailer now with this overview of the wardrobe. I could say some things here, but honestly most of it speaks for itself, and if you haven't already you can always check out my wardrobe breakdown video. Next we get shown some more tricky platforming with these score buttons. An actual working button, oh my, only to end on one of the coolest looking levels, in my opinion, shown so far. I mean, look at this. The atmosphere, the gameplay potential, oh, it's awesome. For our eagle-eyed viewers, you can also see there's actually still a part of a cursor left in the bottom right of this trailer, which is kind of funny, I think, but also shows that no one's perfect and we can accept mistakes like this. I didn't even notice until right now, so yeah. And that's a wrap, guys. This took a lot longer than I expected it to. Honestly, there was just so much to talk about. And when I looked closer, I just saw more and more, and yeah, I could honestly keep on talking, but I want to publish this video someday, right? So you gotta cut your losses somewhere. But if there is anything you want me to delve deeper into, please let me know and I will reward you with a very own video. That's right, just say the word and I'll make sure to look into it. Alright, see you guys on the next one.